So my body was definitely pushing. I didn't want to swallow, but the point is just to focus on the emotion, the feeling, the sensation, and it's gonna get easier. Sometimes you just need to take preventive measures to make things easier.
Several years ago, I had this practice where I would find someone really attractive every day, and then I would just walk right up to them and tell them exactly how pretty I thought they were. And I started this because I'd gotten so frustrated with the fact that I was so afraid to approach very attractive women with the intention of getting their attention. Of course, it's difficult still today, but the way I felt about it then and doing things like that today feels quite a bit different. Now, when you come across difficult situations or something uncomfortable in general, how do you react to it?
There you are, just minding your own business, and boom! An incredibly attractive person is walking by and you want to go and say hi. You're a bit unsure how the person would react, but as every second passes, you realize your opportunity is slipping through your fingers. Or maybe you're about to take a shower and notice that the hot water is gone and there's only cold water left, and there's just no avoiding it. Perhaps you've lied to someone, and now you have to tell them the truth, knowing well how disappointed they'll be.
Now, in these kind of situations, how often do you end up feeling like this? It's no surprise that we can all feel uncomfortable about certain things. Now, I mean, for sure, people react to discomfort a little differently, some better and some worse. But the truth is that none of us are exempt from feeling uncomfortable. The way we react to the thought of discomfort or just uncomfortable sensations determines, I think, quite a lot on how well we're able to face difficult things in life. Now, the challenge with feeling uncomfortable comes with how overwhelmed we get with it. And the more overwhelmed we get with it, the more freedom it takes from us to act in a certain way. You know, when we feel uncomfortable, we get the sensation that we need to escape that feeling. And there really is an inbuilt system for us to avoid any kind of physical or emotional pain. And that's just the body's response mechanism to tell us when some kind of damage is being done, so that we might take action to prevent any kind of permanent damage, or in the worst case scenario, death. The thing is though, this kind of a defense mechanism, it hasn't been calibrated for our modern day circumstances. The fact that someone refuses you for a date doesn't mean that you're gonna die, or that you're a worthless human being and that you'll never find true love. For sure, the fear response is there for a reason. In actually dangerous circumstances, it does its job in providing you protection and helping you avoid situations that could be detrimental to your health and your well-being. But that's where we kind of need to be mindful of where the real danger is and where it's not. Because when the mind's able to stop you from doing certain things, it might be that it's also holding you back from very important growth and gaining abilities that help you deal with very difficult things. The way we react to the feeling of discomfort can affect quite a bit on how we end up feeling about ourselves as well. For example, if you consistently avoid situations that you feel are difficult or discomfort in general, you might end up thinking that you're just not a very brave person. Or if you put a negative twist on it, that you're actually a coward. It's easy to come to think that we're not really supposed to have any kinds of negative emotions or difficult sensations. And that causes us to take any kinds of measures to try and get rid of those negative emotions. And in situations where those difficult sensations and feelings persist, and the more you try to get rid of them, you might end up experiencing that you have less and less control over those things. You start feeling pretty helpless.
Oh, hey, welcome to being human. Come in.
The sense of powerlessness really makes us feel like we're stuck with our own incompetent selves. So we fundamentally learn to see ourselves as someone who can't handle certain kind of situations and so forth. And that really just contributes to us not being able to handle difficult situations in the future, which then adds to more feelings of helplessness. And it easily makes us expect others to now take the responsibility in changing us or making the circumstances more fitting for our needs. But yes, it's definitely really human to find yourself in states of helplessness and really not to know what to do. I think it's really important to recognize that even though we might be feeling horribly helpless, it doesn't mean that the situation in itself is something that's impossible to change. For sure, there are situations where you can't help something. For example, if you lost your leg, that leg's probably not going to grow back anytime soon. But it doesn't mean that you cannot figure out ways to be able to walk again. And I guess that's the thing. If you feel like you're stuck in not being able to handle difficult situations and difficult emotions, what do? Well, how about we do a little test?
Now I want you to close your eyes and take a deep breath. As you inhale... Oh, wait. I forgot to put on the meditation music. Just a sec. Okay, there we go. Take a look at yourself in your mind. Then allow yourself to consider what you would be like if you became very courageous. Can you do it? How does it feel? If you feel somewhat uncomfortable about it, and notice that your mind is trying to find reasons for why that would be impossible, just allow those thoughts and feelings come and go. No need to get caught up there. That's not what we're looking for right now. Perhaps you imagine yourself in a real-life scenario where you would do something courageous without being paralyzed by fear or anxiety. When you just focus on that, can you notice any positive feelings related to it? There. That's your key.
I think there's tremendous value in allowing yourself to see yourself as someone who is capable of doing difficult things. It might be difficult and it might feel impossible sometimes, but just thinking that and trying to imagine yourself as that way opens up the mind to finding solutions in taking yourself to that direction. There's really not that much else to stop you from being brave other than the feelings of overwhelm that you get when you start feeling uncomfortable about something. And a very possible solution for you to become a person who can handle difficult things is really just changing your relationship to discomfort in general. And that doesn't happen like that. I mean, it's so easy to expect that when you feel like you're not very brave as a person and so forth, and then you have this expectation that all of a sudden you need to become the most brave version of yourself. Okay, I've got news for you. You can freely let that idea go. It's okay. You can just let that go and let it fly its merry way. And now it's time to receive the idea that this is a matter of practice. It's like you start with little things and you move on to bigger things. Now, it's true that when you're constantly put into difficult kind of situations that you're going to get more resilient and resistant towards those things, and it's going to be easier in the future to handle those kind of situations. But when you consider doing things involuntarily versus voluntarily, there's quite a bit of difference on what kind of results you're going to be getting. Now, my theory is that when you do things involuntarily, so you push yourself to do those things when you know you don't want to do that as a matter of practice, what's likely going to happen is that your mind's going to find even more reasons to get overwhelmed, and that in turn affirms to you your incapability of handling discomfort or uncomfortable feelings and difficult situations in general. It's just going to spark more of those explanations in your mind why it's so difficult for you and why you will not be able to change, and it causes the feeling of panic a lot more. Now, when you do things voluntarily, it opens an avenue for you to be able to find other things than just sheer pain in your experience. Now, uncomfortable things are always going to feel somewhat uncomfortable, but we can change the relationship that we have with them. Now, if you take as an example, taking a cold plunge, you got a frozen lake and there's a hole in the ice and you need to go and dive in. Now, here's one way that your mind's going to react when you hit a situation like this.
Whoa, 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 no, 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 no! Get me out! Get me out! Get me out! I'm gonna die! No, no, no! Get me out now! Please, please, get me out! I'm gonna die! I'm gonna die now!
This is the classic fight or flight reaction where your body's just sending you all the possible messages to get you out of that situation. But it's also possible to have a very different experience even though you do the very same things. And the only difference is that you just apply a little bit more observance into the situation.
Whoa, I feel the metal's cold on my feet, but the water's definitely so much colder, and as my skin touches the water, whoa, it's so much harder to breathe now. I feel like there's thousands of little needles stinging, and the sensation is just spreading from my fingers and toes to the rest of my body. It's getting a little painful, but I feel like I can still take it a little bit longer.
In other words, you're really just observing what you're feeling and what's really going on in the situation. I know in those kind of situations, it's not going to take away the frantic emotions and the messages of the body to get you out of that situation, but the fact that you're observing them gives you control over that. So instead of just reacting to those messages, now you're all of a sudden in control and you can decide what you're going to do. Not only it gives you the ability to handle yourself better, but it also gives you the opportunity to find something that you might actually enjoy about those kind of situations, which makes it even easier for you to be able to handle difficulties. For example, with my experience with cold plunges, I remember my first time I was actually really scared because it's freezing cold water. It was cold, but I felt incredibly good afterwards, having been able to overcome that fear. But allowing myself to do that more and more, I've really come to enjoy the feeling of being alive afterwards. The point is to really get the upper hand of your own reactions. A really good way to approach these kind of difficult things is just a sense of curiosity. As you go in with curiosity, wanting to understand what's going to happen if that happens, it gives the sense of excitement and it pushes you to do those things, even though you feel uncomfortable about it. And the more experiences you get and you realize that you can do difficult things, the better you're going to feel about yourself. And all that is there to make sure that you can handle life as it comes at you. But also it increases the ability for us to enjoy life more and grasp the different kinds of opportunities that we would actually love to have.